Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us bright and early after a really exciting and unpacked week. I promise you the early rise will be worth the wait because we have a great conversation ahead. Today we'll be chatting about how multimodal AI capabilities are fueling this next era of AI. And to have the discussion, I'm joined by a lovely panel. Before I get to their intros, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Sabrina Ortiz. I'm a senior editor over at ZDNet, where I lead our AI coverage. I've been covering AI for the past 2.5 years, so as you can imagine, it's been really slow a couple of years. And now, for our panelists, I'll start with Dr. Ji-Sun Park. You can introduce yourself, tell us a bit about you, and what you do in the AI space.
Yeah. Thank you, Sabrina, and thank you all for coming today. So my name is Ji-Sun Park. I'm the head of language AI team at Samsung Mobile. So I've been working on various different areas of the Galaxy software. And now my focus is on a core AI technology solutions and AI agents for the Galaxy. The reason why we are here today is simple. So we share a common vision of AI, and we have a profound commitment to our collaboration. Here, Vinesh, so I still remember how hard we worked together day and night to ship the first on-device LLM for Galaxy S24, which was our first AI phone. And Mindy, here, our teams have been working very tightly together to deliver very seamless and very intuitive interactions for users for years. Now we want to share the next chapter of our vision of AI today, and thank you. So maybe you want to go second?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see you today. I'm very excited to be here. I'm Mindy Brooks. I lead Android consumer product and experience. And so obviously, AI is central to what we're doing and how we're bringing this to the mobile platform. And we're really excited to be partnered with my colleagues here today.
Vinesh?
Hi. Good morning, everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. For folks who don't know me, I'm Vinesh Sukumar. I lead the AI product team at Qualcomm, and I always say my job is quite simple, is dream blue sky, and then working with some exciting engineering systems, research, and partners like Google and Samsung, translate that to some exciting experiences on the edge. It's definitely an honor to be here, sharing the platform and dais with a good friend of mine, Ji-Sun. The small correction to what he mentioned, it's more hard work in the night, not on the day. And obviously our scale partner with, at Google. Really happy to be here to talk about ambient AI and some exciting comments we're going to share today.
Well, thank you. As we talk about AI, it's worth acknowledging the space is moving so quickly. Every day seems to be bringing a new advancement, and over the past year, we've seen a lot of growth and development in this space. Yesterday's event only showed us that AI is still here to keep growing and bringing really great opportunities for users and improve basically how you interact with your devices in almost every capacity. So as we take back at the year that we just went through, I wanted to ask you to kick off the conversation. What are some turning points and moments that stand out to you that led to where we are today?
Sure. So as you just saw from the video, about a year ago at Salon de AI in Paris, we laid out our vision for the future of mobile AI and the role that multimodality would play and the potential impact to the users as long term. And in January this year, Samsung demonstrated how this goal is becoming a reality with the Galaxy S25. And this device allowed us to build an integrated AI platform and also incorporate intuitive AI agents centered on user experience, and also bring unparalleled personalization with user privacy at the center. Since its launch, I'm so excited to say that more than 70% of Galaxy S25 users are using Galaxy AI. We are particularly seeing people embrace tools like Drawing Assist and Circuit to Search to enable their creativity and productivity in new ways. And with the launch of new foldable device just yesterday, we are so excited to see more people actually explore the way the Galaxy AI can empower them across different Galaxy ecosystem. We are so proud of the foundation we laid out so far and very excited about what's coming next, which from our perspective is ambient intelligence. What it means is AI that's deeply personalized and predictive and ever-present. Ambient intelligence represents the next paradigm shift. Of course, no single company can deliver this alone. The transformation we will discuss today is only possible through close and intentional collaboration. I'm really excited to talk more about this today. Thank you.
It's really interesting hearing it from your perspective because you all work on the same thing from different angles, right? So, would still love to hear both Mindy and Vinesh, your perspectives too, some turning points or moments that really stand out to you from the past year.
So this past year and a half has just been exponential momentum across the industry, obviously. A few things that stand out to me, first of which the rapid and incredible development of our AI models, with Gemini 2.5 Pro being one of the leaders and benchmarks in the foundational models. So that sets the stage for what we can do on top of that. Building on that, our video generation tools that are totally transforming how users are engaging with social media and posting content there through VO3. That has really set the stage in interesting and compelling ways to add value to users' lives. And then last and definitely not least, Gemini on Galaxy has really brought forward power to be able to connect, share, and create in ways that we weren't able to do a year and a half ago. And it's been so exciting to see that rapid development and really setting the stage for where we're going with ambient AI.
Yeah, you mentioned VO and then like video models, and it's amazing in the past year, the growth and how realistic they are. And I'm in the space writing about this every day, and I can't tell now when it comes up on my social media feed or anything. So yeah, amazing momentum there. Yeah. Vinesh?
Yeah, thanks, Sabrina. Great question, by the way. At Qualcomm, we truly believe the next generation of AI experiences is no longer in the distant future. It's happening now. It's multimodal, and it all starts with mobility devices. And when you look at the next generation of AI experiences, there's always a push to make it more fast, secure, responsive, and most importantly, does not hallucinate. In other words, you want the prediction accuracy to be accurate, you want it to be explainable as much as possible. And all of this starts off with on-device. Now, at the same time, you want these experiences to also be personalized. And when you're looking at personalization, it's also critical and important to understand how you look at user data and translate that user data to generate suggestive or recommendation preferences which are kind of tied to the user. So by definition, we are kind of transitioning from an on-demand AI use case to be ubiquitous AI, or also called as ambient AI. And for ambient AI to be successful, it's very critical. That's what we do at Qualcomm, is to look at opportunities of sensor fusion, wherein you look at data coming from either audio or speech or image or video, able to fuse them together to improve the prediction accuracy mapped to any kind of user experience. So in totality, we put a lot of investments in our hardware, in our software systems to really map it onto applications and work with partners like Samsung and Google to be able to deliver that to our consumer base.
Well, thank you all for helping us take a brief trip down memory lane. But as you were talking, Ji-Sun, you mentioned ambient intelligence, and that's something we've been hearing a lot about, I think, in the last couple of days, and in Samsung's just overall vision for AI and where it's going. So I would love to touch a bit on what is ambient AI, what does it mean for users, how can it help their lives be better?
Sure. So Samsung's vision for AI is ambient intelligence. So AI so seamlessly integrated our daily life that it becomes invisible but second nature, like oxygen. Simply put, it's personalized and predictive and ever-present intelligence at your fingertip. For about a year, we have been conducting user research with Symmetry, a London-based AI research firm, to understand consumer attitude and behaviors toward AI. The latest research shows that people are not simply seeking more AI. They value more proactive AI and seamless and intuitive interactions. In fact, about 60% of people said they want their phone to anticipate their needs without prompt based on their previous history. And also, another 45% said now they're using a voice interaction as often as they type. So while some say AI is the start of the post-smartphone, we see it differently. The role today's smartphone is playing is even more central. And in fact, it plays a role no other device can play right now. And as the biggest accelerator of AI adoption, we see it as the ultimate enabler of ambient AI. This comes down to two things. So the first one is the smartphone's multimodal capabilities to understand intent through vision, voice, and touch. In fact, Gemini usage among Galaxy S25 users has tripled compared to Galaxy S24. This is an indicator that Galaxy users are embracing multimodal interactions. And the other is context awareness. The phone is one of the most personal devices we own. And now it knows how to understand and anticipate our needs based on our everyday patterns and routines. Of these advancements, Vision AI holds the greatest potential to shape our future that we are working to build on. And every day, people are already placing a higher value on AI that helps to make their lives easier in these intuitive and visual ways. But the transition to ambient intelligence requires a deep collaboration and interoperability across different hardware and software domains. So with the collaborators represented on this stage, we are able to put a particular focus on on-device AI for instant and responsive interactions with the built-in security alongside Qualcomm. And through our long-standing partnership with Google, we build on a strong foundation of multimodal capabilities and integrate Gemini into Galaxy ecosystem to open up truly ambient intelligence.
So it sounds from what you're saying that at the crux of ambient intelligence is it being basically everywhere around you. This idea of like AI everywhere first, right? Vinesh, are you seeing the same over at Qualcomm? Is that approach of AI everywhere?
Oh, absolutely. Totally agree with you on that statement. I think the most important element is in the deployment of ambient AI is all about how frictionless can you really make it. And when you look at ambient AI, and if you really want to make it successful, it's all about multimodal and how do you make it personalized. Multimodal starts off with, are you able to look at different data modalities, audio, speech, text, image, video? Do you happen to have the necessary investment from an infra standpoint in the hardware to really make sure you're able to ingest this data quite successfully and able to make out the right predictions as a function of that? And that's what we put a lot of investments in our hardware. The 8 series platform that we have, from 8 series elite platform that we have from Qualcomm kind of manifests to that. And at the same time, it's also important that you keep it a lot more low power because it is always ubiquitous, it's running in the background. You want to make sure it has the least amount of power draw. And last but not the least, it's all about software. The software is all about how do you really make sure you're able to look at concurrent workloads, how you're really making sure the information that's very critical to the user, it's isolated completely within the device. And you're able to extract information that is important and necessary from an app perspective. So I guess in totality, these coming together actually lays the foundation, I would say, as infrastructure blocks for the next generation of ambient AI use cases. So we totally believe in it, and we are really marching forward to drive the next generation of experiences, obviously working with partners at Samsung and Google.
Yeah, I love that you said friction, removing friction, because that's really what it is, right? If you want people to use these things, you need it to be everywhere and easily accessible. And Mindy, I feel like you play a really big role in this, right? Because with Gemini and Android devices, it's such a great vehicle for people to easily access AI because they're already interacting with their devices. They have been. They're dependent on it in their ecosystem for what, years now? And now they can tap into added assistance easily, which is the goal, right? So I'm curious to hear from you. Yeah, how are you approaching this idea of AI everywhere, Android devices, and yeah, where do you see the future going?
So I think a critical point for us is really leaning into how we can make sure that we are multimodal across the board. So obviously, multimodal is here. Text, vision, voice. That is how we are building our devices at the core. And with Gemini deeply integrated into the Android ecosystem, we are able to seamlessly connect across devices and services and apps to create a more intentional experience for our users. We are more proactive, we're more assistive, we're better able to support them in ways and really setting the stage for where we're going with ambient AI.
Yeah. Well, another part of ambient AI that we've all mentioned here today is that it requires it to really know its user, right? For you to be able to tap into something and get the assistance you want at your fingertips easily in your environment, it also needs to know what to offer you, right? So there's a lot of patterns that it has to detect and learn about people. So I'm curious, back to you, Ji-sun, how is Samsung approaching that, really getting to know its users to power these really enhanced and advanced AI capabilities?
Yeah. So we have long believed in the idea of ambient intelligence, and people have had a taste of it with Home Assistant for years. But to truly achieve our vision, we recognize the importance of understanding how people use their devices and move experience between screens and experience. The kind of ever-present AI support we envision requires deep integration across the tools you rely on every day. And seamless connectivity is the foundation. Mobile devices should make life easier by helping people move smoothly through apps, services, and tasks, which is something that Samsung has been building across Galaxy ecosystems for decades. This is how we've already integrated Galaxy AI into more than 200 million devices globally. And that's just the starting point. By the end of this year, 2025, we are committed to getting Galaxy AI into more than 400 million devices globally. We are meeting users where they are most comfortable, often starting with the smartphone at the center. Together with partners like Google, we are evolving platform intelligence to work fluidly across form factors. Our integration of Gemini into Galaxy devices is engineered to feel continuous, whether on smartphones, watches, or XR glasses, and that reflects the strength of that collaboration. The more invisible the technology feels, the better it's working, and I think that's the point. As leaders in the industry, our role is to turn complexity into simplicity for users. That relies on our partnership at every stage of our development.
A couple of things you said there stood out to me. One is the idea of AI moving fluidly through different form factors, right? You want all of your devices to be connected, all of them to know this information about you and be able to assist you in a way that's cohesive and seamless. And then you also mentioned simplicity, so that feeds right into that, right? You want it to be a seamless, simple experience as possible for users. So it sounds like that interconnectivity between devices is more pivotal now than ever. Is that true? Is that what you're seeing? Would love to hear how your teams are approaching that. Mindy, would you like to start?
Yeah, so I think what is so critical at the foundation of how we're designing and building these experiences is making sure that we are thinking about this as how and where can AI add support and help for a user. regardless of form factor. And so that is at the core of how we are designing and building our experiences. And it can't be done in a silo. We have to work closely with Samsung, Qualcomm, and our industry partners to make sure we're bringing it to life for our users in meaningful ways. Yesterday, you heard we brought Gemini to Galaxy Watch, and we're really excited about that. So the power and capability that you have on your phone, you now have on your wrist. And we will be bringing it to more screens and devices in the future as well, and we're excited to do that, adding more capabilities. But again, at the core of it, it's not about more screens, it's not about more AI, it's about how we can add value to a user no matter which device they're on, and we can only do that together with our partners here and to add value to our users.
Yeah, Vinesh, how about you and your team? Anything you want to add to?
Yeah, I think as AI applications scale, it's becoming absolutely important that, as my colleague mentioned, you need to bring value to the consumer, you want to bring value to the user. And I think this is where you enter into a space of AI agents, one of my favorite topics. Agentic AI is all about how do you understand or interpret the needs of the user, and you're able to translate that into actions. And these actions needs to be repeatable, needs to be explainable, and on top of it, needs to be highly accurate. But solving this is not easy, right? And for that, you really need to make sure that you have access to user data not from a single device, but a plethora of devices, all registered to the user. How do you look at contextual sharing? How do you look at personalized information sharing between devices? These are key critical components. And if you're able to do that, I think it's one major milestone we've accomplished in making sure these applications that we're developing are a lot more comfortable and a lot more usable to the user. Now at the same time, it is just not within a zoo of certain devices. It needs to also expand to various OS. How do you look at devices operating in different OS? How do you look at sharing of user data across multiple applications? Applications could be first party and third party. Again, challenging problems, but it's something that we have to work on it. And I think if we're able to solve that, then we enter into the next phase of, I would say, truly intelligent AI assistant or a truly intelligent AI experience that actually mimics the user. Again, challenging set of problems, but I'm sure with partners like we have at Google and Samsung, we will be able to figure out those kind of stuff.
Vinesh, you mentioned sharing of user data, right? And that's a core part of these AI models and these AI applications and experiences really being able to offer that personalized, deep, integrated assistance, again, basically at the core of this idea of ambient intelligence. But at least from myself, from writing about the topic and talking to folks every day, I know that one of the biggest concerns that I'm always asked about or presented with from users is privacy and its security. And it's like, okay, now I'm feeding it with more of my information, and now it can take action for me too, which frightens some people or is, rightfully so, a bit concerning because it's a big shift in how we are interacting with our devices and how we're providing, applications of data. So with all that, I'm sure this is a top of mind for all of you as you're developing these applications, you're working on these devices. Starting with you, Jisun, would love to know, how is Samsung approaching this in a way where it's not just a safeguard, but more so a core component of these applications?
Yeah. So as AI becomes more deeply woven into our everyday life, building and maintaining trust, especially around the privacy, is becoming more important than ever. And we understand that for users to expand their device ecosystem, they must invest a certain amount of information to achieve the fluidity and the ease that the ambient intelligence will deliver. And without the proper safeguard, that could be a real barrier to the potential to improve everyday life. So our research shows that 62% of people would be more willing to use AI if there was more transparency about how their personal information is being used. Personalized AI relies on understanding user patterns and the preferences, and that requires data. But trust is foundational, And that's why we are building layers of protection through Knox Vault and Knox Matrix to help keep your information safe, no matter how you use your device. And we are also adding new ways to protect the privacy as AI becomes more personalized. And we provide the specific, app-specific encryption tools to make sure sensitive data is isolated and also secure. And just as critical is closing the AI divide. So ambient intelligence must be accessible and understandable and empowering for users and everybody, not just for tech-savvy few.
So you make some really good points about how it's such a critical part of the experience. So Vinesh, with developing hardware, I'm sure it's the same concerns, same top of mind. How are you approaching it?
Great question. User privacy is not a nice to have. It's an absolute must. And at Qualcomm, we put a lot of emphasis on making sure that the data is fully protected. And this comes in different flavors. We start off with the hardware to really make sure we have complete isolation of data and making sure that they're encrypted and they're only made accessible to apps that are absolutely needed after a certain, certain handshake is established. It's also important from a software perspective that we put the necessary walls in place to make sure that we have complete isolation. And we also work with our OS partners to make sure that when you happen to have user data that's available, that it's not given at any given point of time to any application. And I would say, user data is extremely critical also for personalization. So in summary, I would say personalization and user privacy don't compete against each other. They go in tandem. So if you really want to drive towards personalization, user privacy is an absolute must. And we have to make sure that we respect the bounds of the user. And we also provide transparency through our OS partners to make sure that we continue to make it much more rigid.
Mindy, you work on Android products, consumer products and experiences. This question is just as relevant for you, so I have to get your perspective as well. Would love to hear how you're thinking about it.
Privacy isn't a feature. It's a principle that is applied at every step of the development process for us. And it's baked into the core of how we build from start to finish. And that's critical in how we are approaching AI and privacy. So if we really want to drive AI adoption and make sure we're making it more and more useful for our users, we have to make sure that they know their data is safe, it's private, and it's secure. And that has to be something they depend on. So here on Android, we're really leaning into what we have on our responsible AI principles, our AI privacy, and privacy principles that we apply, those frameworks at every step of the development process to ensure we are really, really taking into consideration those user needs and making sure that privacy is central into our entire design process.
I think a really special part of our discussion today is that we've talked about the promise, we talked about all the good things, but also a bit more of like the scarier things or the more challenging things. And both of those parts are really important as we're talking about this technology that, as we've all established, is going to change, is changing, and is going to continue to change everything from how you interact with your devices to hopefully making your life a lot better, from everything as a simple task as sending a message to more elaborate tasks that could really save you hours of time every day. And I thank you all for not only considering both sides of the spectrum for this conversation, but also in your everyday work as you do really meaningful developments in the space. With that, I would love to pick your brains a bit more. And I'm going to ask you each, and you could take your time too answering, because I know it's a loaded question, but what keeps you up at night? But also, what excites you the most about what's coming in this new era of AI?
I would say, the land of AI is never boring, for sure. It's like Swiss cheese with a lot of holes, and you have to take time to fill these holes one at a time. I mean, when you look at AI at Qualcomm, and myself included, we're really trying to push for a lot of personalization because we truly believe AI is the next UI. And we're trying to build on that theme personalization is something that you have to work on it on a day-to-day basis. And it starts off with, as I mentioned, we worked on perception use cases, and now we're moving towards the generative AI use cases. As we're moving towards generative AI use cases, we expand that with agentic AI. We briefly touched on why agentic AI is important, because personalization is based on the fact is you need to understand user data, you want to understand contextual information that resides across various devices, and you want to get them together. But getting that completed is not an easy task. It's very important to really invest in that infrastructure to really understand what data is useful. How do you really connect those contextual information that's made available for you and make certain conclusions out of it. And most importantly, when you're trying to move towards an ambient AI or a personalized AI, you always get feedback from the user. The feedback could be good, the feedback could be bad. And it could be like a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a notes giving back to the app. How do you take that feedback? How do you enforce that feedback back into some kind of a dynamic learning on device? Those are, again, difficult problems to solve. So this is something, that we actively put a lot of emphasis. And last but not the least, as always mentioned, is user privacy is extremely critical. We value that significantly. And in addition to that, as I mentioned, personalization and user privacy don't compete with each other, they go hand in hand. How do you really enforce on that principles and move forward? So I think this is what we try to push and anchor ourselves. And our journey starts obviously from hardware perspective, but we kind of map it all the way to software and applications, working with our partners in Samsung and Google to really drive the next 9 months of exciting experience to launch.
Amazing. It sounds like y'all have a lot to think about, making it hard to sleep at night a little bit. Mindy, do you have anything? Would love to hear your perspective.
I would love to say I don't have things that keep me up at night, but I do. The top thing that keeps me up at night is making sure that our AI experiences are delivering real-world value to our users. Mm-hmm. And I think about that day in, day out, all day, all night. Like, how do we make sure we're delivering value to our users? What is really exciting to me right now is what I call helping with the digital laundry. I don't know about you. I don't love doing laundry. I'm not sure I know too many people that do like doing laundry, but it's all those little tasks that you have throughout the day that take up time and space. Managing your notifications, reordering your groceries, filling out those long forms. All of those things add up to a digital laundry that takes up mental space. So I'm really excited about the power of AI to help with the digital laundry in ways that will really add a lot of value for users, so they can spend time on what they want to spend time on, and then we're really truly assistive in what we're providing them.
It's a relief as a reporter to hear you say that what keeps you up at night is wanting to be really intentional with the development of these applications, and really what I call not just dropping an AI feature for the sake of saying, oh, hey, we added new AI. So really making sure that you bring value to users. Because again, covering the space for the past 2.5 years, I've seen a lot. My inbox every morning is bombarded with pitches, and a lot of times I'm like, is this really, AI, or is it really driving meaningful change? So I'm very relieved to hear you say that it's at top of mind, and also that you want to get rid of that digital laundry, because I don't like the digital or the physical one either. So, Ji-sun, now on to you.
Yeah, so for me, what excites me the most is that the year ahead of us is like 10 years in the past. What it means is that with the technology rapidly evolving, even on a daily basis, it's very difficult to predict what will happen tomorrow. And that's why I'm really excited for what lies ahead, especially as a software engineer who has been developing all the unseen so far. Ultimately, having AI be truly accessible for everyone is crucial. And that's why like-minded partners like us have gathered up together like this today. And I'm truly excited for what's coming next. So stay tuned.
Well, thank you all so much for such a lovely discussion. I'm really excited for what you're all working on. I'm really excited to see the future of the space. And thank you all for coming so early on Thursday. I know I'm sure you were all tired, and I hope that our conversation was worth it. I think it was. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much. And yeah, let's give a round of applause to our wonderful panelists.